Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today we are going to bring together a number of different concepts, that is using AI through APIs, structured outputs, document analysis. We're going to bring all of those little pieces together that we've been working on in the last few weeks into a saleable product. So today the inspiration is SpotDraft's Verify AI tool. And in short, it takes documents where you can upload a Microsoft Word docx or doc file. It's going to take it and analyze it. And in the back, it is analyzing these 13 rules. And of course, you can do it in different ways. This context is an NDA, which is essentially a confidentiality agreement saying, please don't, blab my stuff out to the public. And there are 13 rules, let's say a legal department has, saying the jurisdiction should be New York, the recipient must return or destroy confidential information after termination, blah, blah, blah. So all of these things you're looking for in documents, and that way you can just have AI churn through it. Now, we've kind of done something similar in our document analyzer, but what I really enjoyed is once you actually get the results back from Verify, you have a very pretty looking chart that we didn't have. We just had kind of big blocks of text going, yes, maybe here's a reason. You got to read through all of those each time. This is really nice because you have a big, exclamation mark or a check mark for yes or no, and it's kind of split up as well. So just looking at this very quickly, what I noticed is when I ran it through, it actually took a while. It went through each one of these rules, which to me seems like it is making one call for every single question. Now, one way we could do this is, of course, ask AI to, respond 13 questions at a time. I don't think that's how I would do it unless speed is really important. So I think Verify is right. Another nice hint that we see is just how this is structured. So if I pick one at random, the response is 1, guideline is met. So I think there is maybe not a Boolean because there is a middle ground as well. But there is a very limited choice of yes, no, and maybe. There is just the rule itself, which, AI doesn't need to output, but there is a reason given and then a reference in the contract. There are actually multiple references in the contract. So what that tells me is that 1, it's making 13 different calls to AI. Each call is a structured output where it is one of the fields is whether the guideline is met, or not applicable. One is going to be a reason, and then another could be a list of references in the contract. The latter two will be text strings, and the first will be not a Boolean, maybe just an option between a couple strings. Or maybe a score from 1 to 3. So what else can we figure out here? The other thing that I take probably a slightly controversial position is I suspect many of these tools, and even if they don't, it's a good idea for them to connect to either GPT or Claude or Gemini. Early on in 2022, let's say, so many of these legal tech companies were trying to train their own AI. Now that they are costing in the hundreds of millions of dollars, I just don't see why that would make sense. Not for the most part, especially not for hobbyists like me and you on YouTube. We don't have $100 million to train, and our crappy sample is not going to beat out Gemini or chat-gpt or Claude. So that means we're going to use, at least today, we're going to use GPT. We're going to run multiple calls, and we're going to use structured outputs. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start from scratch. I know we have an infrastructure already from our document assembly tool, but I wanted to keep this clean. I really just want to showcase structured outputs within JavaScript for you. So first thing I did was ask Claude to create a simple single page web page with a large text area at the top. So I'm not even doing the docx file just yet. And that text will be going through OpenAI. Nothing else yet, didn't explain anything. I just wanted a scaffold to start this off. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking and then we'll revisit this when we come back. Unfortunately, my footage didn't capture the audio, so I'm re-recording this. But we're at the very end of our process here. And what I have is I pulled up a software as a service, a SaaS agreement, and I copied the text, and you can see the tool working right here. So I'm just going to paste the contract text and we'll click Analyze Contract, and it's going to run through each of these analysis questions. Now, we have done other things in our previous videos in which we have being able to drag and drop PDF files, for example. So, this is a very crude way of doing it, just copying the text and pasting it over. But as a very brief demonstration, you can see that the whole contract is pasted in, and we have our analysis questions, which as a future step, you should be able to modify and change as well. But what we're looking for is here. Each of these questions have been asked. There is a simple yes, no, maybe status and a reason. So in this case, is there a clear termination clause? And it identifies, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4. And these are related to non-payment, material breaches, bankruptcy, and so on. Now, more importantly, just going back to verify, one of the really useful things is for us to be able to come here and take a look at the references. And so 7.1, if we come back, let's just look here, the nicer text. 7.1, we'll see, we should see the text recreated here. Not the full section, so you can see it's been shortened, but just excerpts. So over here, ... So clearly we just have the most important quotes from these references. Of course, you have your original text, so you can go back. But I think it's really exciting for us to be able to put this in, batch it together, and ask a series of questions. Now, these are pretty basic, but what I want to say is, one, you should never trust AI on its own. There should always be human oversight, but it's really useful as a first kind of initial take a quick look. especially because it's pulling references. You can double check very clearly. If I was to read this, top to bottom, it would take me 20, 30 minutes, whereas I can just jump to the relevant sections very efficiently here. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is that these models are only getting better. If you think about 2 years ago when we had chat-gpt, sorry, GPT 3.5, the analysis would be garbage. It wouldn't be helpful because it's not very smart. It would be tricked in all sorts of ways. It's far from perfect today, but I imagine 6 months from now, a year from now, these analyses are going to get better and better and better so that you can start creating these tools today in response to future models that get smarter. Okay, so one last very quick test I want to do is what if I got rid of most of the contracts, just so you can see that you can get some no's in the statuses as well. Now, while it's running, I wanted to show you the code very, very quickly and how we achieve this. So here you can see, I took out all the termination clauses and the payment clauses. So obviously there's no and no. But over here, I guess confidential information has been referenced. It knows something is up even though the whole provision isn't in there. But more importantly, how does all this work? Well, it's pretty simple. We have a basic body here. There's just a quick list of questions. We have a quick table at the bottom, just a text area and a button. Very, very simple interface. We could certainly pretty it up, but that's not necessary. All of the magic comes from sending this to OpenAI here. We're making a very simple call. I guess I could have put the API key here, but instead I pasted it over here. It will not work when this video is published. But more importantly, we put in GPT 4.0. I probably would use a better model for legal analysis, but for now, 4.0 mini seems fine. It's quick. And then we are giving it a prompt. But most importantly, what makes this all work is the structured output or the response format. And in this case, what we did was we put in a parameter response format. And you can see it's this JSON-like structure here. And in each section, we are telling it what the parameters are and what we're expecting. And here we have, first of all, an analysis. We have the question, we have the quick status, which is requirement met, we have the reason, and we have the references. This whole thing is going to be a response. Now, I am always confused with these schemas. So if you're struggling with it, really just throw it into OpenAI, ask it to format it properly for you in the chatbot. It's getting quick and easy and quite accurate in doing this. But nevertheless, what you have to do is specify what type of response it's going to come back as. Your basic string, integer, Booleans. And then you give it a quick description. The AI is figuring out and trying to respond based on your description. So the more detail you can give, the better it is. In this case, we can enumerate just a couple options. So for example, in reason, we give it a free flow. You can type whatever text you want. But in this, we want to always see yes, no, or not applicable. You can do different things. You could do 1, 2, 3, and 4. You could do different enumerations of different strings or numbers or whatever. And the idea here is every time you get yes, I can very quickly say put in a check mark or put in a graphic or something that we can reliably always take a look at. And then finally, references is useful because we can put in an array of strings. And so a list of strings, each one is a quotation from the from the text. And so you want to make sure the schema is formatted properly, and you can also specify what's optional and what's required. In this case, all of it is required for me. Basically, from there, we get the response and we display the results. So I create a new row in that table that we had up top, and we're just pulling all of the information from our analysis. And so we have the question, we have the status, we have the reason, and the references all spat out in different ways. And that's really all there is to it. The rest of it is just handling buttons and toggles and stuff like that. And so these GPT wrappers, you might think is very basic, but you can see Verify is a real business, probably generating a lot of money, and we can create something very similar to that experience for little to no money at all. I hope that was interesting because, I think there are going to be plenty more of these applications moving forward. And for me, as a lawyer, I see a lot of potential for very, very quick, rapid reviews because you might think I'm being lazy over one document, but quite often when there's a dispute, there are thousands, tens of thousands of these contracts to review. And it's incredibly helpful to get at least a preliminary look at just which ones are flagging big danger or warning red flag signs. So I hope you found all of this helpful. You can use this as a template. It doesn't have to be contracts. You can use this as a teacher to review homework that people are submitting. You can review documents from different perspectives as well. And I hope you have fun with this. Thanks for watching. Bye.